work on your game so you can have the confidence. Can't have the confidence if you're not putting the work in and you're out there. Of course, you're not confident because you have no skill set. So work on your skills first, set a plan, and take action on that plan during the game.
This is your boy Juice on the mic, and on this episode of Hoops and Holla, it is titled No Excuse, Produce with Coach Hunter. Coach Hunter was a former JUCO coach at Mass Bay Community College where he was an assistant and a head coach. But now he created his own basketball organization where he trains and develops kids in the gym. He also develops their mindset as he feels though that is an important part of the game of basketball, to develop confidence and instill confidence in his players.
Provides the opportunity to inspire confidence, mental toughness, and reduce the risk of youth violence or substance abuse.
You can catch Coach Hunter training kids at all different age levels. Catch this episode with Coach Hunter titled No Excuse Produce. This is your boy Juice on the mic, Hoops and Holla. I'm here now with Coach Hunter, founder of No Excuse Produce basketball company. Previously, he was at Mass Bay as an assistant for 2 years. Then he took over the reins at Mass Bay for 2 years, being a head coach of his own. Coach Hunter, I know you as Coach YG. How are you doing, sir? How's everything going?
Great, man. I'm grateful to be here.
Nah, absolutely. Under my time playing for you for the little bit that I did, one thing I did realize about you was your passion for the game. Just talk about you developing that passion, kind of your journey in basketball up until this point.
So as a kid, like everybody that loves basketball, I took a liking into the game as a kid, probably in like elementary school. And it was something I watched all the time, wanted to play horse or bucket or whatever you call it nowadays, but we would play like bucket up to 32 points. And I just took a liking into the sport. And so I would always collect cards, watch whatever NBA games, and whatever it is I could watch or collect for basketball, I would do that. And so early on as a kid, I just really start loving the game and start playing it and teaching myself how to play as well as my younger brother.
Now, you're from St. Louis, and I will claim St. Louis as probably one of the most underrated hoop cities in America. There's a lot of balls that came from there. Bradley Beal, Jason Tatum, Hughes, what's his name? Hughes.
Larry Hughes, yeah.
Larry
for sure.
Ben McLemore.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hoopers in St. Louis. Just talk about the hoop team growing up in St. Louis.
Oh yeah, Patrick McCall. Let me give him a shout out too.
Yeah.
That's my people's cousin, so shout him out as well. It's a long list of guys. I mean, what were you saying again? Sorry, I talked too much.
I was just saying, just talk about you growing up in St. Louis and the hoop scene that you was around in St. Louis and how good the basketball is, because it's underrated. People don't really realize, people mention New York City, LA, Texas got a big hoop scene. I love the DMV area in terms of the hoop scene, but St. Louis got a deep hoop scene as well. So just talk about you growing up in that culture.
Oh, for sure. I think we're probably underrated because we're a smaller city, opposed to those other cities you mentioned. But we do have a super competitive environment. Like all of those guys you named, and we have some future NBA guys too as well, I think. But all of those guys you named, like every one of those guys have probably played in a gym on Kings Highway and Martin Luther King, which is Woe's community center. And so you had to play there if you were like one of the names or you were a killer. You not killer in a sense like that,
Right.
Not literally speaking, but you had to play in like those type of tough gyms and tough environments. And so if you weren't built a certain way, you wouldn't even walk into the gym because the environment's already naturally, let me just be honest, dangerous.
Yeah.
Environment. And so it builds a certain toughness. So if you can, step on a court like that and walk into a gym like that, fearless kind of anywhere in the world you play, being from St. Louis, everything else is like a cakewalk. It's like I've never seen an environment like Woes. So any environment is not dangerous. And so you kind of you start building a fearless mentality. Like when I came to Boston and Roxbury, people were like, "Oh man, you gotta be careful." I'm like, you don't even know what my be careful was like growing up. And not no shot or no knock to Roxbury, Mattapan, and all those other environments that are inner cities like St. Louis, but St. Louis kind of prepares you to be mentally tough and kind of, be able to survive around, dangerous environments outside of basketball. So basketball was just became easier anywhere in the world growing up in an environment like that. Now that's just one gym I mentioned.
Right.
There's many others, but that would be like the main gym in the city of St. Louis. If you are a hooper, you played there. If you're not a real hooper, you probably didn't play there,
Right.
and you probably don't know about you. And it's guys that never made it that came from there. I mean, it's a lot of stories. It's not always with all of those guys you named. There's some tragic stories as well. I won't mention individuals by names, but everybody didn't get a chance to make it. But it was a lot of guys that probably could have made it out of St. Louis as well. So yeah, sorry I kind of
Nah,
rambled a little bit there.
that's perfect right there. It needs as light because y'all really produce some great ones out of there, and in different generations too, not just like one generation or anything. It's been carrying on for some time. So you was raised in St. Louis, and some way somehow you found your way up in the Northeast in Boston, um, and lo and behold, you end up being an assistant under the legendary Bill
Oh,
Rayner. Yeah, for sure. Just talk about that time underneath a legendary coach like Bill Rayner, that 2 years you was underneath him. What are some things you learned? Just talk about that time being under him.
well, it was actually more than two, about four or five, and it could be forever learning from a person like that with that type of experience. Um, it was I'm very grateful for all of the knowledge and things I learned about um, just being a good person. Just let's take outside of basketball, Bill Rayner is a great person and he's a caring person. All of his players, it was more than basketball with him, and so that's why I'm sure he attracted success to him as
Yes,
well as on the basketball court and outside of the basketball court. So I learned a lot about leadership and how to lead, how to become a good leader and care about people and pour into people, as well. So I would say leadership skills. I learned so much from him. I don't think I could ever repay him all the knowledge that I learned from him of how to lead and um, and how to pour into people and then you see results of the people that you pour into and that's why he's really loved. He's like a godfather to me. I
sure.
mean, we could talk about him until tomorrow with
Nah,
who he is. He's a legend icon. They're actually retiring his jersey at Catholic Memorial
oh
uh,
yeah.
coming up real soon, so that's a great honor. I mean, a legend. Coached at Holy Cross, coached at Mass Bay, Brown University. The list goes on. He's an iconic figure in the state of Massachusetts alone. If you're a young kid and you don't know about Bill Rayner, you better do your homework. A legend,
For,
icon.
for sure. And he was one of
Legend.
the instrumental people behind BABC as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that as well. Yeah, I had him on the show and we had a great conversation, and for sure there's great knowledge just playing under him, just like how you did. You just gained so much. And all this takes place at Mass Bay Community College, which you played at and then also was assistant at as well, and you were the head coach at as well. It's the JUCO school, community college school. It's tough. I know. I tell people all the time, like JUCO is a different life. And the Mass Bay is not like we didn't have the dorms. There's some JUCO schools, you find them down south or somewhere or anywhere else, they have at least dorms and stuff. No, this is a commuter community college school. So after practice, guys are trying to find ways to find a ride, hopping on the train at 9 o'clock p.m. to go an hour, 30-minute commute back home. Just talk about that JUCO life and how tough it is, and it's rewarding as well, at the end, but just that JUCO life, and from your perspective as a coach and a player, just talk about that JUCO life.
All right, as a player, let's start there. As a player,
Go.
it's definitely challenging, but not really overall. It's really teaching you life skills.
Mm,
If you want to break it down from that point of view, because everything that you're going to get out of it is what you put into it. And so, meaning that if you want to be a college student, then you got to learn how to, sacrifice, not staying out too late. Maybe you have to work to be able to make money to pay for your rent, for your apartment, or wherever you live in. And even if you're living at home, I mean, you still may have a cell phone bill or things like that. So you learn how to manage your time. You learn how to meet new people. And like you said, if you don't have a ride, then you're probably going to figure out who on the team that has a ride that's going your way. So it teaches you how to communicate for yourself, speak up for yourself, advocate for yourself, and become a young man or a young woman as well. If you're a woman and playing JUCO basketball as well, so it teaches you to grow up and teaches you life skills that maybe it's a struggle at the time, but you don't see how rewarding it could be over time. After going through a struggle, because um, struggles are necessary. And I always speak about failure. Failure is a good thing. We always look at failure like, oh, it's a bad thing. This is a struggle right now, but it's teaching you life lessons that'll, like I'm saying the same thing, but it'll teach you how to grow. Failure and struggle teaches you how to grow as a person, and so then you don't struggle no more. You work hard, and you become successful, and all the struggle and hard work was well worth it. Now, as a coach, that's another challenging thing with recruiting. I think as a JUCO coach, we're recruiting with what you said, not having dorms compared to down south JUCOs or D3 universities that have, or D3, D2, D1 universities that have dorms. So that's the struggle and challenge. But you can also sell them on, a program which, like Mass Bay, is a successful program, academically as well as basketball, as well as learning how to grow up and getting out there on your own and becoming a young man or young woman. So um, and so for Mass Bay, we have like a brotherhood. So it's easy to sell you on that. If you see, you come around that program and you see the success that we've had because of the brotherhood, like everyone sticks together. And if someone needs a ride, someone on a team is going to give you a ride. People that work at the school will probably kind of help you navigate your classes and things like that. It's called a community college for a reason, because there's a community of people that are going to help you grow. And so, yeah.
No, for sure. Nas Bay was great to me, and I know it was to you as well. Um, and after this time being an assistant at Mass Bay, you took over for Bill Rayner after he retired. Um, just talk about when that decision was made and you got the phone call or things was confirmed that you're gonna, be the head coach at Mass Bay, a place that you played at, a place that you was assistant at, a place that you won as an assistant and possibly a player at. When you get that confirmation, that phone call that, hey, Robert Hunter, you're the head coach, Mass Bay Community College. Just talk about what was kind of the first steps that you wanted to do or that you did do that you want to build your own program, because that's an exciting time, right? You being a head coach or something, or you being able to kind of manage things on your own. That's an exciting time to make your imprint on the program. And it's tough because Bill Rayner left it in good shape. So you're not trying to, fix anything that's broken, because not much is really broken, but you have your own ideology. You have your own way of going about things. So just talk about, once you got that confirmation you're going to be the head coach at Mass Bay, what were some things that you did to be like, you know what, this is some things I want to do to make this my own?
So first and foremost, I wanted to recruit the players that I thought that would play in a system or a style that I thought that could work. But first and foremost, the shoes Bill Rayner left were huge to fill. I mean, of course, but I was very, first and foremost, honored and grateful uh, to get the opportunity to actually coach as a head coach, which was one of my goals that was on my list
Mhm.
of things that I wanted to accomplish. So I felt honored, and I felt my loyalty to the program was paid off, that they were loyal to me. So I was very grateful for that. But it was a challenge, tall task, big shoes to fill. Um, yeah. Hopefully, I probably didn't answer your question. So it's a lot there. It was a lot. It was a challenge.
Sure. Now, I
Um,
just kind of want to know, like, once you knew you were going to be the head coach, what were some things that you wanted to get done? You mentioned that recruiting, getting players that you wanted to do to fit your system, but what were some things you wanted to check off to make that program your own?
so things I wanted to check off is to improve the program. So I would say in this regards of that we were a successful program, but I wanted to highlight that. So have more of a social media awareness or whatever, more kind of branding around our program. And kind of like, as you see a lot of successful programs, it's a long list of them. I won't throw out names, but they're very highlighted in this new social media age. So I wanted to, highlight the players, because I think JUCO guys on that level at Mass Bay, they don't really get highlighted as much as they should. Now, Bill Rayner was one of the forefathers of that, of kind of highlighting guys in that league in Region 21, of creating an all-star game. So those guys can get an extra look, which is something that I didn't get. I didn't even get to play in an all-star game and stuff like that. So Bill created things like that for the whole league, for guys to be highlighted, and for other college coaches from four-year universities to come in and give guys an extra look. And so that's what I wanted to do to build more brand awareness around the program, like with our Facebook page, Twitter, all of the social medias, and kind of start highlighting our players where they have a virtual kind of resume of who they are. And I would also kind of highlight different things about the holiday, like so people could get more of an insight about our players, so our players would know that we cared about them, outside of just bouncing the basketball. Because I know in recruiting, everybody's trying to recruit like the top players, but I know what made me feel wanted as a player was that I was cared about, and that outside of basketball, was my situation good, where I have a livable situation, and before I even get to college or on the basketball court. So I wanted to create that for a good environment and more exposure for our student athletes, and recruiting the guys that I thought that would fit a system that I wanted to play, a style of play, and support those guys.
No, for sure. You mentioned that style of play. I remember it was one time in practice. It's like probably like three possessions. I brought up the ball, and based off the plays I used to watch, I used to like to play like a slow down pace. Right, I used to love watching Mike Conley, Tyus Jones, Tyler Enos. So three possessions, I'm bringing the ball, I'm walking up, make sure everything's set. Things happen, and then you subbed me out, and then I sat next to you, and you looked at me. You was like, "Stop walking the fucking ball up the court. This is not the Utah Jazz. We need to get up and down." I remember that. I remember that vividly, but it was just based off the plays I used to like, and I just had to adjust to that. But you had a style that you wanted to play. You wanted to get up and down. We had some good guards at that time, so you wanted to get up and down and get early scoring opportunities and just playmaking opportunities for those guards. But I remember that vividly. He was like, "We're not the Utah Jazz, because this is the Utah Jazz, the grit and grind Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
Zach Randolph, Marcus Gasol, Tony Allen, Mike Conley." So he was like, "No, we're trying to, up the pace a little bit." So I do remember that, and you implementing that and making that your own. And I also do remember on Twitter, the social media pages, asking players certain questions like, who's your celebrity lookalike, and things like that. So you definitely implemented something of your own for sure.
No, definitely the game was kind of is advanced now, and so as the game advanced, so should we as coaches, as players, as well. And so I was only teaching that so you could be prepared, and so all of our guys can be prepared, because if you're planning on getting to the next level, and Mass Bay is just a pit stop, and you're looking to play at a 4 year, university, they play with pace, space
Yep.
and pace, and they defend and get after, and it's more possessions in that style of play. And so it was just kind of keeping up with the game and where the game is and where it's advancing to. Because if you look at the game now, nobody's playing with that
Mm.
pace at all. It's all pace and space. And so the game is and now it's a positionless game. Like
Yep.
no one really has one position. You're kind of a multi-dimensional player. If you even look at the top player from the state of Mass, the AJ kid, that kid could play the 1 to the 4. And so that's where the game's advancing, where you have to be multi-skilled as a basketball player.
No, for sure. And you was right on. That was also during the time when Golden State was, running and gunning it and winning a lot of championships. So you were definitely doing something right. During that time, being the head coach at Mass Bay, the 2 years you was there, in the moment it probably didn't go as you wanted. You probably have some perspective about it now that you feel like it helped you, like you mentioned before. Things not going your way is great things to propel you for later success. But just talk about what's one thing that you take from that experience that's actually helping you propel yourself in your basketball career from that point forward.
The best thing that could ever happen from there is that I was no longer there, I had to part ways, they parted ways, we parted ways, and that I was fired. It was like the best fire ever. Being fired is kind of the at the moment I didn't see it that way, but looking back and looking at it now, it was the best thing that can happen to me because it catapulted me into my next passion, which is going to be the thing I do the rest of my life, which is basketball training. And
Right.
so I know normally people don't think of that way. You're like, oh, I'm fired, I'm let go, resign, and oh, this is a bad thing. It really wasn't. It was the best thing that ever happened to me.
For sure. Um, like you said, failure is not it's not always bad. It's for things to come later on.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about what you're doing now. No excuse produce. If you play for Coach Hunter, that was his saying. When I did my research on you and I found out you was doing this, I was like, of course he will have his own basketball company called No Excuse Produce, because that's something you always used to say in the huddle. If guys had any type of excuse or about to try to make an excuse about something, you always say no excuse produce. So talk about where that saying come from. Did someone say that to you? Did you make it up? Where did that come from?
It's something. So I never liked when people made excuses around me. So it's something I came up with. And it was just something I took a liking into, that no, not making excuses, but produce and make it happen. It's like because throughout life, I faced a lot of adversity. I mean, throughout my life, and so I always looked at it like God has a bigger plan. Um, why make an excuse, figure it out, and produce and make it happen? So I never just settle for failure. Like I told you, I was fired. I didn't go home, cry about it or whatever. I said, all right, it's time to move on. Let me move on in my passion. It's something I love to do. And and so it's just a way of life. I just like that saying. And for people that make excuses, like no, produce, figure it out, because excuses is a weak route to take, to say, I'm just going to make an excuse. And then you become that type of person that just kind of bickers and make excuses about everything. And your words are very powerful. And so you have
Right.
to use your words wisely. Your words are very powerful. And so you have to be cautious in the way you use them. And like making excuses, that could become a repetitive thing and you just continue to do it. Now saying no excuse produce, like I'm not, no excuses, I'm going to produce, I'm going to make it happen. And so it's just a way of life. And I'm doing that. I'm a living proof of it. And so because of the power of the words, and not only the power of the words, but the actions, I take action on those words that I say to you.
Now for sure. And the No Excuse Produce basketball company is you training and developing kids. So just talk about some of your philosophies. When I actually had Coach Bill Rayner on, he was talking about how he's training his little nephew. I think he's like maybe 9, 10 years old. And I asked him, like, what is something that you like to teach and develop young kids about? And he said, well, with my nephew, I kind of just want him to enjoy the game. He talks about them just playing horse, just finding ways to be creative, different shots and things like that. And I thought it was very fascinating. Too many times we kind of keep kids in a box and things like that at this young age. But what are some of your main philosophies as you develop a kid?
No, I fully agree with that of keeping the game fun. I'm all about that, even for my 7-year-old.
Mhm.
Is why I'm probably not going to put him on a team until he's like in fifth or sixth grade because keeping it fun is important. Like I told you why I've started loving the game of basketball, playing bucket, playing horse, or those things like that as a kid, collecting NBA cards of players and watching the game. And you want to keep it fun. You don't want it to feel like, a job or them to feel like a college or a pro athlete because there'll be plenty of time when they go through that grind of that if they really love it and they continue to play the game of basketball. So a lot of kids don't play when they get to high school because they're so burnt out
Mhm.
as kids. If their parents are really pushing them to be the next LeBron James or whoever, Steph Curry, they're overly being pushed. So you want to keep the game fun and make sure they're learning the game, the IQ part of it, and just having a favorite player is important. I fully agree with that, and as well as the mentoring part, because a lot of kids go through the anxiety of the game or whatever when they're on the court, and when they're training, it's two different things. So when they get out there on the court, they're like, oh, whoa, I got to think the game. And the game's kind of sped up for them. So I like to teach the game IQ wise as well as the skill development. But I would agree with keeping the game fun as well too
Yeah.
for younger kids. Now, if they're at a level where they want to let's get straight to the skill work and be in a competitive environment, I'm all for that as well. But for me, I start where kids at. Let's start wherever they are. If they're a beginner, let's start there. I'm not going to have a beginner kid trying to do advanced or intermediate advanced things. So I could start where they are because I was them once upon a time before I completely got all of my skill sets.
No, for sure. And how long did it take? So the minute you started all this, um, when did you obtain your first client? Like when did that happen and how did that come about?
Good, great question. I always kind of get this question in a way. Um, I was directing a basketball camp at Sarah Baines Nike camp.
Okay.
And so, and I worked a bunch of these different camps. So it became a revolving theme after the camp. Parents would come up to me, hey coach, my kid really loved this camp and they really love how you taught them all of these things and stuff like that. Can you work with my kid one-on-one? Like, all right, I'll look into it. I wasn't doing training at all. And parents continuously kept asking me that. And like I said, really wasn't interested in that at the time. I'm just working Nike camps and stuff like that. So 2020 hits. I'm working in the school system as well. The coronavirus hits and the pandemic. And so I said, hey, wait, I'm not working right now. I love basketball. I got to figure out a way to get back around basketball. And so I said, let me look into the training thing. And so I get my first client, um, a girl, Madison Barnaby, who was going to school at Becker, which was in Worcester, and
Yeah.
she needed training. And so she was my first client. So I started training her at whatever park that we could find. So we found a certain park that we would continuously go to. And then I really enjoyed training her and mentoring her. And so her school shut down, which so she faced a lot of adversity. And so it's like, oh, she's got to find another school. So she found another school, Nichols College. And so I continuously trained her so she can make the team. She made the team. So other people start seeing me train her. And so people kept asking, hey, I see you're training. And so I just got people just taking my number down and hit me up about training. So I said, I really love doing this. I don't want to go back to working in middle schools because I don't feel like you ever been somewhere you feel like you don't belong, your value, you have so much value to give and you feel like you don't feel like you belong.
Nah, for sure.
Me personally, I was in the school system and I'm like, now I belonged in a way of where I was helping kids,
Right.
the behavioral specialist kids, but I wasn't able to living my passion with the basketball as well. So with training and mentoring, it allowed me to do both. Dealing with kids from all different backgrounds or however they were mentally, physically, helping kids on wherever they were at their level. So I said, wait, I think I'm going to start a business with this. I really love training. I love mentoring and helping kids. And so I formed a business. Of course, it's going to be called No Excuse Produce, right?
Course. Of course.
And then so I started a business, got the logo made, and all those things. Start forming a team of all people, marketing people, operational people. Leased the gym out, and coming up on January 20th, in 2 days, this will be our third year in business, and we're forming in new partnerships in Sudbury. We're partnering with the Guild of St. Agnes. I'm on the board with them as well. And so everything's coming to fruition. I'm very grateful, but it started with one client really. And it grew from there to where it is now, to where we have a whole community of kids, and there's a lot. We have a lot, and we train year round. We have basketball clinics, one-to-one training, group trainings, and all of those things year round, partnerships and stuff like that. And so I'm getting the opportunity to live in my passion and doing something I love, and it doesn't feel like a job because I love basketball. I'm living in my passion.
That's so great that you said that, because I'm currently doing what you were doing. I'm working at a middle school, behavior specialist. And my passion for basketball is definitely overriding that. And I love working with kids. I love working with kids. I mean, you have to enjoy working with kids if you want to be some sort of coach or anything like that, right? You have to. But my passion for basketball is really becoming more and more high. And I'm trying to find ways to fulfill it. And I'm doing like certain things, but to turn to something more full-time where I don't have to work the behavior specialist job. And I've been doing that for some time, and I enjoy it, and I learned a lot about myself. But I feel like not just selling myself short, not because it's something I don't want to do, because what I'm doing is important, but I feel like I'm selling myself short based off the skill sets I have to bring to basketball is not being utilized. I'm a pretty versatile person, so I can do a whole bunch of different type of things. So I guess right now, in this point in my life, I really want to dive deep into basketball. But that's great that you said that, and that gave me some inspiration, honestly. But I just kind of want to know what the No Excuse produced so far. You say you're about to go on year 3 of this. What has been the most proudest moment so far during this time of you developing kids and training kids? Has there been a time when a kid didn't know nothing about basketball at all, and his parent just threw him in there, and then now he's like, 1,000-point scorer in high school? Like, I just want to know what's a proud moment for you as a trainer right now.
Oh man, there's so many. Where do I start? I can remember this kid. I don't know if you guys could see. He's to the left of me right here in this picture.
Okay.
Marcius, Mars. I call him Mars. And so
Okay.
I actually went to his game tonight, and he scored his first point of the season, which I'm very proud of.
Right.
But the story about him, he was a kid when he first came to our program. He couldn't walk and chew gum at the same time, and he had no confidence in the world. Like, he was always down on himself. Now he's like, he made his middle school team. He's one of the most confident players that walk in our gym for our middle school open run on Fridays, and all the kids love him. Our middle school open gym run wouldn't be a success without him, and so he's a highlighted kid in our community of what results look like over time, and compared to what he looked like previously to come into our program. And so that's a prime example of No Excuse Produced, because he didn't make any excuses. He came in at what level he was at now, and he's got all the confidence in the world now, and he still has a lot of room to grow as well, but just his confidence I look at that and see that that's the magic that our program has of giving to kids that confidence, and that carries on outside of the basketball court as well, of being successful, of believing in yourself and being confident. Now, it's another kid as well, that's in this picture back here. Junior is another kid that he didn't make his team his freshman or sophomore season due to the situation. I won't kind of throw all his business out there, but he didn't make the team. But he trained with me for like 8 to 11 months. And he came back this season and had like a 24-point game. And so he's like a 3-point shooting specialist.
Right.
So he's another kid I'm very proud of in our program. The kid that's on to the right of me right here, Nate. Nate is a kid that I know he wished he would have found me a little bit earlier. He found me like at the tail end of his senior year in high school. So he's graduating from Millbury. But he trained with me and he went off to college up in like somewhere up in Pennsylvania, UPenn. And his first year in college, he won a championship.
Okay.
And so this kid's gonna be like a star actor as well as too now. He's in school for acting and stuff now too. But he put a lot of hard work in and got to college, still in college now, won a championship in his freshman season of college. So it's a lot of stories out there. I can go down a long list of kids. A kid that's probably one of the top players in Central Mass, James McKinney, kid that trains with me. He scored 41 points last season in a game.
Oh,
This
wow.
year, he'll probably be player of the year in his league. But I can remember him as a eighth grader, ninth grader coming to camp. And he naturally had some stuff, but he's worked his butt off to become who he is now, which he's a player, a top player in the area, as well as Chaden Marshall's another kid that came to us as like an eighth grader, goofy looking kid. He could walk and chew gum, but he needed some work. Now he's one of the top players in Central Mass as well, playing for Burncoat. Their team's like 7-3 right now. But very dedicated kid. I mean, this kid shows up to the Breakfast Club workouts like 5 in the morning, 6 in the mornings, and puts work in while other kids are asleep. He reminds me of myself as well sometimes of how I was with basketball, how I never wanted other people to outwork me. So, I mean, it's a lot of stories, man. There's a long list of them, but those are some names that come to mind of kids that are having results and having a lot of success. And all of our kids in our community, I'm very proud of. And so I'll go out to support all of them when I get time.
Now that's definitely dope for sure. And I kind of want to that transition to my next question. So you had success all throughout. You had success as a player yourself. You had success training kids. You had success as an assistant coach, and you had some success as a head coach. So I kind of want to know which one of these are the most satisfying moments. So playing, you got MVP tournament one time. You made first team all conference. You're a Dow point scorer at Worcester State, I believe. And then as an assistant coach, you was part of a team that won regionals, got to the national championship tournament, or your first win as a head coach, or is it a kid saying, dang, Coach Hunter, without you, or you really helped me? Which one of those are the most satisfying moments?
Out of all of those moments would probably be kids coming up to me telling me about the results of like or a parent. Like I can think of a parent in our program that came up to me and said, Coach, all the things that you were working on with my son, he showed up in the game and he improved on those things and he had a really amazing game. All of those things like that, seeing kids have success, that's my championship pretty much. I my passion is serving others and helping others have success because I know what it feels like to have success. I've had a lot of it, but I love to see the kids in our community have that same success and to pour into them. So I would say helping the youth get their results. I got a lengthy resume. I put my work in and I got results, but I love to see the youth in our community. And I'm thinking of another kid that's pictured here too, a
Mhm.
kid, Tyler, um, with the black long sleeves on right now, a kid that he reminds me of myself of how he loves basketball, a big Jaylen Brown fan, and watches the game, loves the game, loves Steph Curry game, and that noticing how he's starting to get more confident and remembering him like I remember Mars of not having confidence when he first came in our program, but now he's kind of doing a little showboating stuff, you know how the NBA players do when they score and stuff like that. So he has tremendous confidence. So seeing that, pretty much seeing the kids grow, that's like a championship to me of seeing them get results that they want to get, but knowing where they started and the hard work they had to put in to get to where they go, where they want to go, and that they're going to go further as well. It's only like the beginning of where they're going to get to with building their confidence, and seeing that it's a championship for me.
What are some ways that you do help kids with like confidence in the mental side? My dad used to tell me all the time, the game is 80% mental, 20% physical. And I remember when I was a kid in middle school, I was a small, scrawny kid, so confidence didn't come the easiest. So what I actually started to do, especially going into high school, I used to simplify it. I didn't used to be like, okay, I'm trying to score 10 or 15 points. I used to be like, okay, let me at least shoot two threes. Let me at least get to the free throw line one time, more process driven and more simplified. What are some ways you kind of help kids with developing that confidence? Because confidence is a hell of a thing. That can, that's the difference right there. That's the difference between a great player and a good player, and a bad player and a good player. So what are some ways that you help kids with the mental side and the confidence part of the game of basketball?
Well, first and foremost, they help themselves by
Mm.
showing up, right? So when you
Yeah.
show up and you put the work in, and now you can become confident as a player. So some of the players I named, like before they came to us, they weren't training or working on their game. When you work on your game, and now you can trust in the skill sets you have, and now you can be more confident. Now, with that being said, you can have the skills, but still not the mentality as well when you approach the game. So I tell different young players, like, listen to whatever kind of common music before you play a game, kind of see the game how do you want to play, like I want to be aggressive and take X amount of shots. Whoever I'm defending, they're not going to score X amount of points, so start setting goals before you approach the game, and start with your mindset of whatever you're listening to calm your nerves, because naturally, even at the highest level, everybody gets that nerve wrecking kind of feeling or anxiety before they play. But if you start continuously work on your skills to build your confidence and have a certain mindset of how you approach the game, you can't go into anything without a plan, right? It just doesn't logically make sense. So have a plan, a strategic plan of, all right, my goal is, to be aggressive. When I have good open shots, I'm going to take those. Like I said, have goals, different goals for the game. My guy's not going to score more than 6 points. Um, I'm going to play aggressive. Like I'm going to go out there and play like as if it was my last game of my life. So set certain goals to go out there and be confident. I'm going to run up and down the floor, like I had fire behind my feet. Set goals to just go out there and play hard. So when you play hard and you're prepared, you go out there and play hard, all the nerve stuff will go away. That stuff go away because everybody gets that. But set goals. So I would say set goals, but before all of that, work on your game so you can have the confidence. Can't have the confidence if you're not putting the work in and you're out there. Of course, you're not confident because you have no skill set. So work on your skills first, set a plan, and take action on that plan during the game. And then you can be happy with the results after that. As if you were being aggressive and you played your hardest. So what if you only scored 2 or 4 points, or if you didn't score? Were you being aggressive?
Mm.
Because the good basketball players, like a great mind told me, they don't have a memory. They don't care about making mistakes. They can care less about making mistakes. If you care too much about making mistakes, you're not going to be a good player. don't care, right? Go out there and play hard. And so that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, for sure. Setting goals, that definitely helps. You mentioned kind of before, you wouldn't coach again. How do you feel about coaching again, like head coaching again?
I actually always get asked this question. I get emails and offers for
Yeah.
jobs, and I'm not interested. I don't ever want to coach in the sense of coaching from the sideline of, our X and O's in the sense of coaching a team. I enjoy the development of the player more than I enjoy X's and O's and all the other stuff. It's a tall task, man. Just being an assistant and having success as an assistant and moving over one chair, just one chair over, it's a huge, tall task, man. It's a lot compared to being an assistant is better.
Mhm.
To be honest with you, is it's less responsibilities and you can kind of focus on what your task is, which is to assist the head coach. But I'm not interested in any jobs. I get offered jobs all the time, but I really enjoy pouring into the youth development of putting um, better youth in the world and better basketball players on teams where they're prepared. And so I really enjoy that more than I enjoy coaching in that sense. But I coach that way.
Now,
Well,
some people might hear that and think, "Oh, being an assistant is easy." Absolutely not. Talk about
definitely not. Yeah.
talking about what are some of the roles. 'Cause I feel like a lot of people at any level don't know what assistant coaches do. In football, you have an offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. You kind of know, okay, this guy got the defense, guy got the offense, special teams. And basketball, those titles don't exist. It's just assistant, associate, so on and so forth, right? Until you do deep dive, like, oh, he does a great job developing guards. He's a recruiting guy. He's the fence guy, whatever. So talk about some things you did do as an assistant coach, because that's not an easy job, especially when it's just a 2-man, 3-man show, head
Yeah.
coach, 2 assistants. Just talk about some of the responsibilities you had as a assistant head coach.
So as an assistant coach is it's a lot because you're traveling a lot. Your job is pretty much to bring the head coach players.
Mhm.
Players in the sense that fit the head coach's style of player, the players, that the coach is looking for. So you're almost like you're a salesman in a way. And I mean, it's a huge responsibility and it takes a lot of time away from your family
Yeah.
with like traveling and scouting games, and which is why I love what I do now because I create my own schedule. I have more time with my family. I can homeschool my kids. And so with being an assistant coach, it's a tall task of traveling. I was traveling all over the state to recruit players, and then it's in a way sometimes that failure is discouraging. Of like the players that you want think they all going to North Carolina or whatever top school, and so it's tough to get players. And but I think I was successful at it, but it's a tall task to kind of like try to sell players on the program and that recruiting. It's draining that part of it, the all over the state traveling and recruiting part of it. Now the coaching part, that's the fun part of the development part. That's why I do what I do now. So the developing it and teaching different skill sets, that's the fun part of it, of and mentoring and stuff like that, and kind of letting people know, well, no, I wouldn't go that way. I would go this way, and helping young men as well as women navigate throughout their journey. That's the fun part, the mentoring and the skill part of it.
Right. Not for sure. Yeah, I just couldn't let people think being the assistant was easy when you say you preferred it. It's a different challenge. It's a different challenge,
For
sliding
sure.
to the next seat over. It's a whole different task than being the assistant. But being the assistant is definitely tough for sure. I kind of want to end off with this right here. I know you give me something good. No excuse produced can't be one of them though, okay? Just leave us off with a quote. It can be something related to basketball, it can be something just life, something you heard, something that pushed you forward. Just give us a good quote to end this off right.
Something that I always tell the kids in our community is are you getting 1% better today? Are you getting 1% better today? And if you are, over time, that will add up to the results that you want out of your life. And that's whatever aspect of your life that you want to improve. Get 1% better every day, right? And so that's drinking water. If that's changing your eating habits, if your left hand is weak, improving your left hand. If your shooting skills need to improve, work on that every day. Whatever you need to work on, but get 1% better every day.
That's a good one right there. It may sound cliche, but if you really think about it, just 1% better. I feel like in general in life, not even just basketball, that we feel like in a rush to be perfect or to be our best self. No, we are living a long life as long as that we're here, and we have time to work on those things incrementally. So now that's a good one. I appreciate your time, Coach. This was great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Absolutely. I appreciate you watching that episode of Hoops and Holla, and I hope you enjoyed it and got better as a coach. If you want to continue to grow as a coach, check out our next episodes we have coming up next.
And the more you teach defense, the more you understand offense. Because now you're as a defensive coach, like this stuff hurts. So as an offensive coach, when I'm teaching kids or I'm teaching students how to play offense or do these certain things, I'm like, this is what works.